Okay, I'm at a point now where I've got the garage pretty much taped off. I put plastic, kind of a barrier up all the way around. Usually the stuff will land at the same height or lower, so I'm going to put a little piece of plastic I got in the ground. I'm going to throw over my, ghetto blaster and all my materials there. That stuff over there should be fine. But I've pretty much got everything else taped off, a lot of the collectibles and what have you all the way around. And then all the exercise stuff, just threw some plastic over it. So put drop cloths down on the ground. You have to be better safe than sorry. The door, I've got carefully plastic off right to the edge. So you can open it up, there's plastic on the door, but you can still get inside without anything getting on the door casing. And I'm going to put a piece of plastic over this little ice chest too at the last minute since I'm using it as a work table. But I've got all the stripes laid out. Very tedious. I've spent hours just getting this garage mass off and then laying out these stripes, which are pretty perfect. So I got that. That's going to be done in a satin black. So next I'm going to get sandpaper and sand all that down on the hood and then on the quarter panels. And I've got the traditional Bumblebee RT stripes in the back. They're about 13.5 inches wide. It's an easy measurement to remember. Just kidding. But anyway, I've got this. I'm going to sand this all down. And then after the black is done, I'll have like an inset about 1/4 inch, a red pinstripe, which I've already bought the red pinstripe tape on both sides, just flanking just straight down. It'll be chopped off at the bottom. So that'll pretty much define that it's an angled stripe. It takes a break right where the wheel well curve is. It stops there. So it won't destroy the lines of the truck. But it should look really nice. I spent a year thinking about this very carefully and researching and doing multiple layouts on here until I came up with this. So the next step will be to put plastic over the entire truck, and I'll cut windows for where the graphics are and then tape the window edges to that. So that way it's basically covered with plastic and you just cut around it and then tape that right to the edge. So that way everything is completely bagged. And then I'll paint it. So I'm going to have a drink of my iced tea and relax for a few minutes and then finish masking the rest of this garage. Hope you guys enjoy this. Thanks. Okay, now another hour or so has gone by and I've got it all bagged. And I've taken some 400 grit sandpaper and lovingly sanded every inch of the surface to dull it, and so the paint will bite. You have to get every single inch of it. And then I take a rag with some lacquer thinner and dampen it with lacquer thinner, a lint-free rag, and I wipe over everything to clean any possible wax or residue. I washed it the night before with dishwashing soap thoroughly, every inch of it, to strip any wax off it, and I've kind of done that in the last couple of washes, so there shouldn't be any wax. It's carefully sanded. It's all dull now, ready to paint. And I put plastic over the freezer there and plastic over my ghetto blaster and all that stuff, so I'm ready to go. Let's see what happens. And I'll show you the results when I'm done. So I've got the first 2 light coats. You just want to do a light tack coat initially, just as some light coverage. Let that sit for about 10 minutes, and then I just fogged in the opposite direction another light coat with overlapping strokes. You can still see through it a little bit, but you want to let this kind of set up for probably 15-20 minutes on both sides and on the hood. The hood's got a little bit more coverage because I went over it a little slower with the overlap. This will be a nice black satin finish too, where I did a matte black on my Dodge Challenger. So that's it, and everything's protected. When you cover everything with plastic, you don't risk getting any overspray. I had to put this basically plastic lengthwise, 9 feet wide plastic, and you can roll it out the whole length of the truck, and you put it right to the middle of the truck, and then overlap it, and then put some wide tape and connect them. So you basically cut windows for everything, and then tape the edge of the windows down. And that's it. This would probably be upwards of $2,000 to design this and to lay this out on someone's vehicle and paint it. You could probably get it wrapped for $1,500, probably something similar to it, but I just didn't trust them. I was worried about spending all the money to do it when I could do it myself, and I'd never be satisfied. So I said, you know what, I'm just going to paint it. I was tempted to wrap this in the exact same configuration, but to do it in the granite crystal metallic, get a vinyl that's close to that, which is a really deep charcoal metallic, and do it in that instead of a black, which I thought would match the metallic rims, which are the same color of my Dodge Challenger. But it would be a subtle distinction, and the metallic and the vinyl could fade after a few years. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do it right with paint. You see a lot of Lamborghinis and cars that are wrapped, and it just looks cheap. But when you see a car that someone took the time and the money to paint it, sand it and paint it and do it right. Even like McLaren, if you send a McLaren back or a Ferrari back to the factory, they'll charge $50,000 to $100,000 to repaint it and do it right. And that way everything is done right, the stripes are done right. So this is a much smaller, more affordable project, and to take something like this on. But it's, intimidating for a lot of people. It's just prep work. And like, this looks like overkill, all this wrapping. You probably could have sprayed this with just plastic on that back door and maybe in the front here, but I don't take any chances. That's what separates the good painters from the bad painters, is just preparation. A lot of people are lazy, even painters. They just don't want to do the labor and getting everything masked and doing it right. And I'd rather protect all my things. And, it's a little bit more work, but in the end, it'll be done, and it will last for many years and look fantastic and be a one-of-a-kind on the street. So that's what it's all about. All right, thanks for watching. Well, I just finished the final 3 coats on it. It really came out nice. It's pretty wet right now, but it'll dry a nice even sheen when it's all done. You just have to kind of do overlapping coats and keep a wet edge. And I've done a lot of satin and flat black. It's tricky to get it perfect, but it really came out nice. It'll dry a nice super even sheen. This SEM Automotive trim enamel is just awesome. It's literally the factory paint that they use on like factory black hoods for like the TA Challengers and other muscle cars. That's why I stick with what works and what's been the industry standard since the late 60s. It works great, it looks great. And I just got my, Amazon delivered my one-shot bright red enamel. So I'm going to highlight some of the blacked out emblem, just the faces of the emblems up here on the hood, where it says Hemi. I might do the 1500, I'm not sure. And then the very front where it says Ram, the faces in red, which will pop with the red pinstripes. It'll be surrounding all this on both the quarter panel stripes and the hood stripes. I'll have some bright red 1/4-inch pinstripes, which will really make it pop. So look a lot like my wife's Redline edition. But everything is protected well. It came out nice. You get a little bit of, you can see a little bit of overspray got all over the plastic. You can see it clings to the plastic. So if you had not covered this, that would have been on the walls. It doesn't go high, it tends to go low and goes about the height that you're painting and lower. So you can really see it in the back here where I was close to the door. I'm going to be repainting these back doors anyway, a different color. So I'm not too worried about them getting on there, but everything else is protected. But just thought I'd give you guys a shot of it. Came out beautiful. I've done a lot of these. It's probably about $2,000 worth of custom painting. Some shops would charge more, but that's what I would charge, between $1,600 to a friend and $2,000 probably for retail to design something like this and lay it out. And I mean, it's tedious, it's a lot of work, but it's well worth it in the end, and it's done right that way. So it takes some balls. It takes sandpaper to an $80,000 truck, I'll tell you that. I thought twice about it before I did it. My wife's like, are you sure you're gonna, you know what you're doing? It's an awful lot of very expensive truck. If you don't like it and something goes wrong with it, I said, no, I'm gonna do it right. I've thought of the steps. I've done this many times before, so I tend to underdo graphics instead of overdo them. Even my last truck, it was just the hood I did and the silver roll pan in the back, and that was pretty much it. But when you do it with paint, it lasts a long time. It looks great, and it sets it aside from all the other white Rams like mine on the street. I see, literally probably one a day, if sometimes a couple a day, that look similar to mine. Some are Laramie, some are limiteds like mine, but it's just nice to have something that's unique, that sets it aside from all the other ones that you see that are out there. So anyway, thanks guys for watching. I'm going to probably stitch all this together and make like a little, video, and I'll show it when it's completely done with all the red highlights and pinstripes and all that. So hope you enjoy it. Okay, thanks. Bye. Well, I just finished the final 3 coats on it. Really came out nice. It's pretty wet right now, but it'll dry a nice even sheen when it's all done. You just have to kind of do overlapping coats and keep a wet edge. And I've done a lot of satin and flat black. It's tricky to get it perfect, but it really came out nice. It'll dry a nice super even sheen. This SEM automotive trim enamel is just awesome. It's literally the factory paint that they use on like factory black hoods for like the TA Challengers and other muscle cars. That's why I stick with what works and what's been the industry standard since the late 60s. It works great, it looks great. And I just got my Amazon delivered my one-shot bright red enamel. So I'm going to highlight some of the blacked out emblem, just the faces of the emblems up here on the hood, where it says Hemi. I might do the 1500, I'm not sure. And then the very front where it says Ram, the faces in red, which will pop with the red pinstripes. It'll be surrounding all this on both the quarter panel stripes and the hood stripes. I'll have some bright red 1/4-inch pinstripes, which will really make it pop. So look a lot like my wife's Redline edition. But everything is protected well. It came out nice. You get a little bit of, you can see a little bit of overspray got all over the plastic. You can see it clings to the plastic. So if you had not covered this, that would have been on the walls. It doesn't go high, it tends to go low and goes about the height that you're painting and lower. So you can really see it in the back here where I was close to the door. I'm going to be repainting these back doors anyway, a different color. So I'm not too worried about them getting on there, but everything else is protected. But just thought I'd give you guys a shot of it. Came out beautiful. I've done a lot of these. It's probably about $2,000 worth of custom painting. Some shops would charge more, but that's what I would charge, between $1,600 to a friend and $2,000 probably for retail to design something like this and lay it out. And I mean, it's tedious, it's a lot of work, but it's well worth it in the end, and it's done right that way. So it takes some balls, it takes sandpaper to an $80,000 truck, I'll tell you that. I thought twice about it before I did it. My wife's like, are you sure you know what you're doing? It's an awful lot of very expensive truck. If you don't like it and something goes wrong with it. I said, no, I'm going to do it right. I've thought of the steps. I've done this many times before. So, I tend to underdo graphics instead of overdo them. Even my last truck, it was just the hood I did and the silver roll pan in the back, and that was pretty much it. But when you do it with paint, it lasts a long time. It looks great, and it sets it aside from all the other white Rams like mine on the street. I see, literally probably one a day, if sometimes a couple a day, that look similar to mine. Some are Laramie, some are limiteds like mine, but it's just nice to have something that's unique, that sets it aside from all the other ones that you see that are out there. So anyway, thanks guys for watching. I'm going to probably stitch all this together and make like a little, video, and I'll show it when it's completely done with all the red highlights and pinstripes and all that. So hope you enjoy it. Okay, thanks. Bye. Okay, here we are the next morning. This would be Sunday morning at about 6:30. I'm finally taking the plastic off so you can see what's left of the initial masking before I remove it. Really came out nice even sheen. Looks fantastic, really nice. It's going to be a nice contrast against the gloss white once I wax it. The rear stripes look really good. It's going to be one of a kind. So I'm going to edit all this together and then finally show it when it's completed. But next I've got the red pinstripes and accents to do. I'm still deciding precisely what I'm going to do on that, but there'll be a few small touches of red added with my new enamel that I've got. So really came out nice. I'm real happy with it. I gotta clean everything up and then later today remove all this plastic and then fold up all the drop cloths to protect the epoxy floors. A small fortune in these floors, which are here when we bought the house, but I wouldn't want to have to repair them. So that's why it takes a lot of extra time. I spent hours just masking all this stuff to protect the doors and walls and floors and all my other items in the game room. But yeah, this really looks good. This is going to be a handsome looking contrast. And it should match my wife's vehicle. She's got the same white, black with small red accents as well in her Redline Edition Traverse. So, came out nice. I was going to try to match these gunmetal granite crystal metallic rims, but it's just too hard to find vinyl that would match it, and then I'd have to rely on someone else to apply it because it really takes a lot of skill to put it on multi-contoured surfaces. So paint still is the best. It holds up the best and looks the best in the end because it's permanent. It's the way it should be done. But anyway, I'll show more when I get more to show. So here's the final truck with it all done finally. It really came out nice. I'm real happy with the paint job. It looks fantastic. It really came out nice. Let me step up on this little threshold here so you can see the hood better. But it has a nice even sheen to it. The red pinstriping just really pops on it. It really came out nice. It's a handsome looking design, and it looks almost factory, like it was a factory, option. And that's how I try to design all of my graphics for all my cars. I want it to look fairly factory, and that way if I did have to sell it, people can see that, you know what, it looks like a factory, RT model or performance model. It's mine is more of like a sport truck anyway, even though it does have, four-wheel drive, because I can lower it like it is now, and it handles fantastically with the air suspension. It really is. It's a custom truck. It's more of a sport truck. It's got the Hellcat-inspired hood with the twin vents on either side of it. So with the sport hood, the black really accentuates it, just like the TRX. It really has, and that's why I love the TRX because of the paint scheme. It has a blacked out center section on the hood. It's similar, a little bit different. They have a different hood because it has a big, like a hood scoop built into it on the TRX. But yeah, I'm real happy with the way this came out. It just looks gorgeous. Really looks nice. And just has a real nice sheen. I like the satin finish as opposed to the more matte that I had on my last Challenger. You can see the stripe back here, the RT stripe. I stopped it right for the, right near the back where there's like the wheel lip. I didn't want to paint it over that. I kind of like the fact that, it has a break for that. So, but the red pinstripe is a nice subtle accent. Now I could cut out some in red, the RT logos, like I used to have on my other truck years ago, and put those on there up, fairly high on it, on the stripe on either side, which I still could do. And I'm tempted to cut them out, and I can put them on, I can always take them off, but I kind of like the simplicity of just the black. It looks very clean, and it looks good going down the road. It looks nice. So it's in more of a traditional RT stripe. I basically took the same dimensions of the stripes that they had on the other trucks. Even on the 2008, they had a Dodge Ram or a Daytona version of the truck that came with a rear wing, and this angled stripe was tied into it. So it's in the same placement on the back as the other one. So it looks like a factory option, which is nice. And it goes fantastic with the, all the blacked out chrome and trim, and it matches my wife's SUV. She's got, her year is a 2020, this is a 2021, but she got a brand new 2020 Chevy Traverse Redline Edition, and it has little accents of red, and she absolutely loves it. I keep it detailed for her constantly and keep it waxed up nice, and so she loves that, and I like driving in it too. It's a nice car, and it just looks good with the white, with the subtle red accents, and the red accents on this really made it come alive. It just looks fantastic. Real happy with it. I was tempted to highlight in red the 1500 and the Hemi E-stroke and just paint the very top layer of those on the surface in bright red to match the stripe. That's why I got that red one-shot paint, but I kind of like it all blacked out now. I think I'm just going to leave it like this. Again, you can always add things, but I like to do kind of a less is more. It always looks a little bit better, and it gives you just a cleaner look. I want it to really look like a factory option. So anyway, I thought you might find that interesting overall. Turn this thing around. So that gives you an idea. So anyway, at least now you can see how it came out. It looks good. I'm real happy with the overall look. I think that it was worth the time and effort. It was when I first started getting into it and like masking the whole garage, it was taking hours. I'm like, God, I hope I didn't. On a day off, I mean, I work so hard during the week. It's hard for me to have the energy to even do a project like this. But I said, it's worth it. The summer's almost over. Once it's done, then I can, now, and then the next thing I'm gonna do in the next week or two is to wax it. I'm gonna have to mask all those, satin stripes off and then wax it with a good Meguiar's, wax. And that's gonna really bring the shine out in it. And you'll see that subtle contrast with the satin black against the gloss white will look fantastic. Right now, it's not dull, but it's a new paint job, obviously, but it'll really shine up nice. The white, when you wax it, looks fantastic. So I'm real happy with the way it came out. It looks nice. It still has a nice, clean factory look. And if I wanted to sell it, I can sell it. It looks attractive and whatever. But I thought you might find it interesting. This is something I don't normally do, the car stuff, but I've been playing the Gears of War. There's I forget what they call it. It's like the remastered version, Ultimate Edition, I think it's called. And you can play it on the Xbox One X or the Series X, and man, it looks fantastic. It's bringing back old memories of 2009. I'm really having a good time with it. So anyway, that's it, guys. Thought you might find this interesting. I don't really do a lot of car content anymore, but it's something, and I'm glad I took the time to do it. It was a little bit more work than I anticipated. Initially, once I started, I go, God, I hope I didn't get over my head with this, but it was worth the time and effort, and I spent a year focusing on this and wanting to do it. It's really been a labor of love, taking the time to do something. I take pride in my things, and I want them to look nice. I pay a lot of money for this thing, and even my other truck, it was more of a stripped down one, but I kept it looking nice, and when I sold it, it looked just as nice as when I bought it, and that's how I like to keep all my cars. I really like to take care of them. I'm the type where if I had a Ferrari or Lamborghini, I would be waxing it constantly and keeping it up. And I do the same thing with my work vehicles or my regular cars as well. So hope you found this interesting. Just something a little different, just to kind of shows you more of an artistic side of the things that I do in life and what I find is fun and attractive. I love cars and vehicles, and I spend a lot of time in them, going to work, going to church, going out to run errands for my family or whatever. And it's nice to have nice looking things and to personalize them the way that you like to have them. It always pays off for me in the end. So hope you found it interesting. I'll be back with more game related content soon. Thanks for watching, guys.